Hey guys, I'm learning TFT. In this video, I'm going to do a VOD coaching review with Aesah, and some of the key ideas that we talked about is how to improve your 4-2 roll down. And in this specific scenario, we did a deep dive into whether or not it makes sense to use this duplicator here on your core key. And some of the considerations that you might consider are is your streak worth preserving here? And part of this analysis is scouting to see if you can full streak this stage. Since if you are able to preserve streak, that's an extra 3 gold, technically 4 gold with the win per round that you are able to win if that makes fight diff on this duplicator. So depending on how many rounds you can win, like if I can win 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds, that would be 16 gold diff. Assuming that I would have lost those rounds if I didn't duplicate. Part of the question can also be how contested Alawi and Heimer are, since I'm playing the Academy Sentinel line here. Let's see, what else? How many rounds do you expect that you'll be able to play for the rest of the game? This is a big idea that Aesah keeps on emphasizing, especially if you're healthy. You're probably going to last until at least mid-stage 6, if not stage 7. And so counting how many rounds you have remaining, because you could view this duplicator as some equivalent gold value. Like from last set, if there was a charm that offered you to pay a certain amount of gold for the combat value that you would gain from having a 2-star Corki, how much would you pay gold-wise would you pay for that? And that how much you would pay would really depend if you're on early game, mid game, or late game, because the longer the game lasts, the less likely you would be willing to pay, unless you for sure would be streaking for a while, since gold is more valuable in the early game, which we normally are aware of. But if I am so healthy, Aesah's point is that you are likely to last longer, and so the gold value is actually more valuable to preserve that gold value. So we talk about that, and so that's giving you a little bit of an intro into the VOD. I will include a timestamp in the description below. If you want to jump straight to that, go ahead and do that now. Before I get into the VOD, I'm going to talk about how to win the inner game, meta mindset around your psychology for both TFT and in life. So the big idea I want to talk about today is how to manage tilt and optimize performance. And I'm going to cover 3 ideas: the illusion of progress, rest, and sleep. So Alfred Montepert said, "Do not confuse motion and progress. A rocking horse keeps moving but does not make any progress." Stephen Covey said, "We must never become too busy sawing to take time to sharpen the saw." So you can be sawing all the time, but if your saw is dull and it's not sharp anymore, all that motion is wasted. You're not making any progress. Amos Tversky, a scientist, said, "The secret to doing good research is always to be a little underemployed. You waste years by not being able to waste hours." So having a little slack and a little rest, he's making the argument, actually helps you improve your creativity and performance. Sun Tzu in The Art of War said, "When you do battle, even if you are winning, if you continue for a long time, it will dull your forces and blunt your edge." We see often streamers who will play, like Soju will play for 20 hours straight. When you're playing for that long, you're not going to perform optimally. And there's a lot of research and science that backs that, and that's a lot of the key idea here. He continues by saying, "When your forces are dulled, your edge is blunted, your strength is exhausted, and your supplies are gone, then others will take advantage of your debility and rise up." So when we go on tilt, a lot of times we feel like we have to keep going. We feel like we lost something. This is true in, like, if you go to Vegas or if you played at Macau and you went gambling, this is how casinos get you. You get tired, you feel like you lost, and you need to make it up, and you keep going, and you just keep losing more. So one way to preserve LP is just to learn how to stop ahead of time. Sun Tzu also said, "Those who know when to fight and when not to fight are victorious." So knowing when you're starting to get tired, ideally ahead of the tilt, is perfect time to stop. Defense is for times of insufficiency. Attack is for times of surplus. So those are core ideas around the illusion of progress. And there's a bunch of research talking about how rest helps us perform better. Alex Pang said, restorative daytime naps, insight generating long walks, vigorous exercise, and lengthy vacations aren't unproductive interruptions. They help creative people do their work. Some of history's most creative people, people whose achievements in art and science and literature are legendary, took rest very seriously. They found that in order to realize their ambitions, to do the kind of work they wanted to, they needed rest. The right kinds of rest would restore their energy while allowing their muse, that mysterious part of their minds that helps drive the creative process, to keep going. So when we're, whatever it is in life, or if you're playing TFT a lot, if you take it too seriously and you're grinding and working all the time and not giving yourself proper breaks, taking care of your body, that may actually impede the progress that you want to make towards your goals and dreams. In their book Peak Performance, Brad Stulberg and Steve Magnus said that the psychologist Csikszentmihalyi, he's also the creator of the idea of flow, found that the same held true for creative geniuses. The brightest minds spend their time either pursuing an activity with ferocious intensity or engaging in complete restoration and recovery. This approach, Csikszentmihalyi discovered, not only prevents creative burnout and cognitive fatigue, but it also fosters breakthrough ideas and discoveries. So a lot of creative geniuses spent a lot of time being super intense, but then also giving themselves times for breaks. A common process across almost all great intellectual and creative performers. 1, immersion, total engagement in their work with deep, unremitting focus. This is actually something I need to get better at when I play TFT. I'm like distracted looking at a bunch of other stuff. I have family stuff I'm thinking about, other random stuff. Really being able to like focus, take out the noise, remove all of the other stuff going on your computer, like Windows, random stuff, notifications, and just focusing. Number 2, incubation, a period of rest and recovery when they are not at all thinking about their work. So that time where you're giving yourself a break from whatever it is that you're focused on, whether it's TFT or something else, is actually really important to let your subconscious mind process all the information that you are actively thinking about when you are immersed in the thing that you're doing. 3, insight, the occurrence of aha or eureka moments, the emergence of new ideas and growth in their thinking. And so it's really the combination of the immersion and the incubation that results in the insight. They also say that top performers work in discrete blocks. Divide your work into blocks of 50 to 90 minutes. And this is what research has shown is the optimal like duration of time where you can do intense, deliberate tasks, whether that's the immersion, some type of practice. Start even smaller if you find yourself struggling to maintain attention. If deep focus work is new to you, start with blocks as short as 10 to 15 minutes. As you cultivate a deep focus practice, gradually increase the duration you go deep. For almost all activities, 2 hours should be the uppermost limit of a working block. After the 2 hours, and I think the optimal is actually closer to 90 minutes, after that, your brain starts to decrease in performance. And that's where the rest really becomes valuable. Take smart breaks and let your subconscious go to work. When you are working on a strenuous task and hit an impasse, have the courage to step away. So this is when you're running into a wall in your LP curve, you are going on tilt, you just hit 4 games in a row. Have the courage to step away. Step away from whatever it is you were doing for at least 5 minutes. The more stressful the task, the longer your break should be. For really draining tasks, consider stepping away until the next morning. During your breaks, perform activities that demand little to no focus. Go on a short walk, sit in nature, meditate, recover socially, listen to music, take a shower, do the dishes. You may have an aha moment of insight during your break. If you do, great. Even if you don't have an aha moment during your break, your subconscious mind is still at work. When you return to whatever it is you were doing, you'll be more likely to make progress. So a lot of times when you're on tilt, you're completely tunnel visioned on what you're doing and you feel like, oh, like more dog got me, or I'm just running bad. When you take that step back, it actually often, even if you're like focusing on something else completely, you actually might connect some random dots that you wouldn't have thought of if you were just continuing to try to, jump into the next game, to realize like, oh, this is the pattern of mistakes that I might be making. David Allen said, your ability to generate power is directly proportional to your ability to relax. So the more stressed and tilted you are, and you can even draw this analogy to mental power, not just physical power, is that the more tilted you are, the less optimal decisions you're going to make. And on the topic of sleep, Stanislaw Dehaney said that there's research that shows that good night's sleep more than doubled the probability that they would have the insight. Many participants woke up with the solution in mind. Controls established that the elapsed time was irrelevant. What mattered was sleep. So this was an experiment where they had a problem that they had to solve, and participants that slept had double the likelihood that they would be able to solve the problem. And so this applies to naps as well. So if you're having a tough day, whether it's at work or at PFT, taking a small, even like power nap can make a big difference. Matthew Walker, who did a bunch of studies on sleep, found that when we compared the effectiveness of learning between the two groups, the result was clear. There was a 40% deficit in the ability of the sleep-deprived group to cram new facts into the brain, that is, to make new memories, relative to the group that obtained a full night of sleep. So if you're sleeping less than 7 hours a night, and ideally it's closer to 8 hours to 9 hours is the optimal amount, it severely impacts your ability to learn. And so if you are sleeping, let's say 6 hours, 5 hours, that will impact your ability to learn and also be able to retain memories. It also impacts your emotional reactivity. So not only are you retaining less information, but if you go on tilt, you're more likely to have your rational part of your brain disconnect from your intellectual, rational part of your brain and make more suboptimal decisions. So that wraps it up with how to kind of manage tilt and optimize performance. That's your meta mindset of the day. Now I'm going to jump into the VOD. If you want to jump straight to this section of how to optimize your 4-2 roll down and this specific scenario here, you can use the timestamp in the description below. Thanks for watching up to this point and for the rest of the video. I'll see you in the next one. Here is the VOD. Wind up monkey. Do you change any of your gameplay for Wind Up Monkey other than just like
Nope.
mainly Chembaron, I guess, is not as good? Because you could
Yeah, I
get
think
the
it's like
damage.
too unpredictable to like play around anything. I guess like you can. Yeah, I mean like there's a chance it gives you components, so like maybe scrap. Radiant item is better for reroll because you're like focusing more of your power on one unit.
Mm.
Uh, but I think it's like too unpredictable.
Here, are you holding the
Yeah,
Mumu pair
I
or
think it's fine.
Lux? Okay, so like even
I
though I
think
have
you're
the
holding a
swain.
Mumu for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only thing you would consider is selling Swain for all three of these, but I think 2 Swains is probably fine.
Okay. I
But you
mean,
need a Mumu for sure. Darius, Watcher.
right. I've like played a game where I got like the duplicators, and like if I could get a
Yeah.
4 conqueror set up early. Oh wait, hold up.
Oh wow. Take Hunter here.
This is actually
Is
not the
this
game I want to go over. I realized.
okay, okay, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're Hunter for sure, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, this is the game I want to go over. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. That last game was a little too obvious. This one's also powder though. Are you okay with holding these over the
Yeah, I
Draven?
think this is like a clear best option.
Okay.
Like Leona pairs with, I mean, you just need like any frontline unit pairs with Lux,
Hmm.
and then Zarya pairs with Lux, and then obviously you're holding both pairs, Lux and Vex. I think you could go like Trundle over Leona, but Lux is like a better like synergy with Leona, of course.
Hmm.
Yeah, this is good. Good reflex. Sometimes you don't have enough time for that.
So not scrap, not probably not investment strategy. And support's like not great either, but probably roll left and right first.
I think it's fine. I think you could play investment strategy, but I probably wouldn't.
That would be playing towards like Academy Sentinel or Sentinel
You just have
Heimer.
Nasher Trojan and you just play. It has to be a reroll. I'm pretty sure
Oh, so you stick with
because your
Renata?
4 costs aren't gonna have it. Yeah, so you just go like Shojin Nasher, and then yeah, play the
Okay.
Visionary.
I haven't played any Renata since this patch. Like, is it still viable with like investment strategy?
I mean, it's not as good, but you do have a lot of the units already. I mean,
Okay.
you don't have Renata specifically, but I guess you just sold Vexes also. I mean, I would probably just roll left and right is what I would do. Which I think support cash is like not that bad, but I would probably take Wandering Trainer. I think the gold Wandering Trainer is really strong.
Oh,
I'm actually surprised they gave it 1 gold.
okay. I'll try taking that more. I don't think I've really taken it that much. Like, just generically, you think that's just very
Yeah,
strong.
yeah. Too much value into Urgot is a pretty strong line as well.
How many two costs are you playing with? So you're playing
You
Urgot,
can play like
Tristana, Set,
4 of them.
and thing. And then do you eventually
Um,
take out the extra two costs? Like you're just holding extra two costs while you're rolling?
yeah, you can usually play 4 of them. Some ways. And then later you can drop something. Yeah.
Or is the fourth? Is it like
It
Leona?
could be like two. It could be like 2 Sentinels, like Leona
Uh,
Rel or
oh,
something.
okay, okay. Because that
You
gives
could
you
just keep them. You could keep them. I guess you could also primary carry Tristana as well.
okay. So would you have prioritized too much value over Wandering Trainer in this case then?
I like Wandering Trainer. I think it's really good,
Okay. All right. So I took
and you
the
have like
worst
pretty
option.
flexible items. Can be AD or AP.
Hmm.
I would probably go Rageblade here.
Rage Blade. I see. I was thinking I could slam two items here and then just play towards Heimer. I don't have tiers.
Yeah, you can. I think it's fine.
If you're playing Rageblade, then you're playing towards like Zoe or
You
Twitch.
can
What?
still play towards. I mean, you're like Academy. You don't need to like greed best items, especially now that they increased it. So your minimum 7 items on 5-1. So I mean, Rage really could be like your leftover item, but Academy also gives you items, so it's kind of okay
I
to
see.
not have an item that's ideal in stage 4. I mean, it's your best item in stage 2 and stage 3, but it's worse in stage 4 and onwards.
Who would Rageblade go on eventually? Like
You can
just
just put on like Ezreal
Corki,
or
Ezreal.
yeah. I mean, I think this is fine, but yeah, I think Rageblade like wins you a lot more fights early.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're gonna be stronger right now with the two full items, but when like 2-5 comes around, you're likely gonna have two items anyway. And then you'll probably be stronger for all of like stage 2 and stage 3. But yeah, it is worse in stage 4.
And from this spot, like it's pretty much just Heimer, right? Like Silco's not very good right now. I guess it could be like vertical rebels if I happen to hit a rebel emblem.
Uh, I think you can play any of those.
Or
Like
are you playing Sorks without Sork emblem at all? Like 6 Sork, 3 Black Rose?
I think like all of those are options. Because well, you won this holy. Uh, I think they're all like close enough in power.
Okay.
Like I do think like the academy line is a little bit better, but it's not like by a lot.
As far as components here, probably a tank item, just like balance front and back
Yeah,
line.
I like that. Yeah,
Uh,
I think because you're full streak, I think just taking a relay 2 is reasonable as well.
oh, right. Okay.
It's half anti heal.
Is this Zyra positioning weird? Like, I was thinking if Maddie somehow is able to snipe my Lux, like just putting the Zyra there blocks the shot.
Yeah, I think it's good.
It's never Silco here, right?
I probably wouldn't hold it. Soko, you really want
Mana items.
uh like Shojin specifically,
Mm-hmm.
which is just kind of hard to get from your spot because you don't have either of the open components. You also just have like so much of this board. You have like Lux 2 Aurelia 2.
Right.
This experiment augment is so strong early. But yeah, I think from your spot earlier, you should definitely be like willing to play like Sorks, Soko, and Zoe or Rebel.
Okay. So as long as it's not costing me econ, you'd be holding like the supporting cast, but for the most part, you're not like holding supporting cast at cost of uh just econ breakpoints.
Yeah, yeah. Like even holding the Soko there, like I kind of want to hold a Soko, but I'm basically if you lose the econ, you're kind of buying it for 5 gold, and a lot of times that 1 extra gold, like this early in the game, like compounds.
Yeah. And what's your thought on the stone plate slam here? I feel like
I think this is very, very, very bad.
very bad.
First of all, you have like a lot of sentinels, so you're very rarely going to be able to have one unit targeted by everything without like
Mhm.
compromising your position.
So
Sentinels also
some
have a lot of armor and MR, so it loses
right,
a lot of value.
some fire over stone plate then and declog. I think
I
I
think like
want. Mhm.
declog, declog's already better. And then yeah, like you really need Sunfire is just like one of the best items you can have in this board.
I want to say I scouted the lobby and it was like mostly AD. Guess there's one AP. So even then, like I think it was something like at least 680.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay, so still Sunfire Declaw, or save the cloak for maybe
Oh,
Spark.
I mean the thing is, if you're playing Sentinels, um, even against an AD matchup, increasing your so realistically your stone plate like is because you have so many sentinels, right? Like if someone's left side, your stone plate's only gonna be targeted by like a couple units. So
Mm-hmm.
here it's being targeted by you're right. You're on the correct side, but it's only targeted by 3 units. Um, so the stone plate is giving you 55 armor and MR. Force Sentinel has, we just check real fast. Force Sentinel already has 75. So you're getting, compared to like a regular unit, you're getting almost like one third the value. It's not quite that simple on it, but basically because you already have 75 armor MR, getting an extra 45 is a lot less value than I guess like you're getting like half the value is closer.
I see.
Um, but it's more so that just like securing your anti-heal is like pretty important. And Declaw still gives you um extra health in terms of healing. So that synergizes a lot better with Sentinel resist. Even against like an AD comp, I would not be surprised if Declaw is better than Stoneplate.
Okay.
Because it gives you 9% max health and then extra health healing.
And to your point on the anti-heal being really important, would you not slam the guard breaker here then? Save the belt.
I think if you're going to have these components, I think making Guardbreaker is fine, and then you can just go for it later. Because it's still 3-1. Like I mentioned earlier, you're guaranteed 14 minimum components. You have one for your augment, so you have 8. So you're guaranteed at least 6 more components. It's pretty likely you can find it. Like obviously, it's not like guaranteed, but it is like pretty likely, especially with the anvil.
Okay. When you say guaranteed 14 components, like is that true every game by like stage 5?
Yes, so they changed it recently. I think it was after Macau, but for basically years, it's been guaranteed 12 minimum, which is 3 on tank, 3 on backliner.
Mm-hmm.
But they changed it to be 14 now.
Okay.
That's also why econ augments are also a lot better on 2-1 because they didn't increase the total amount of loot you get. So basically, that means if 2 orbs are giving you components, that means they're not giving you gold. So you're a lot more likely to be in low econ games.
Oh. And so then,
Yeah, we don't have augment stats, but I would expect augments like raining gold on 2-1 to be really, really high up right now.
so related to that, then, unless you are full streaking with an item augment in stage 2, the item augments are less valuable relative to the gold augment, or like gold
Uh,
econ
com-
augments, I guess.
Compared to like a couple patches ago, that's true. Yeah,
Okay.
I wouldn't think about it too hard, but yeah, I mean, it is relevant. I heavily prioritize econ because, like, if you look at your spot right now, it's kind of questionable if you even want to go level 6 on 3-2, which is like, a lot of times you want to go 6 on 3-1, but it's just like this is a perfect example of one of these games where, um, because you got a lot of components, or everyone in the lobby got a lot of components, everyone in the lobby did not get a lot of gold.
Hmm. And this reigning gold player I'm playing against does have full 50 gold, at least.
Yeah, so they have like a much bigger advantage than like if because they're able to make extra breakpoints. Because normally at this spot, they get the initial 8 gold. Then they make like a couple breakpoints, and then at that point they're just making 1 gold per round more than you. But at this point, he's making 3 gold per round more than you because
Mhm.
of the low econ portal, or not the portal, just the Prugs variants. Which this is just like a lot more common nowadays
You know what percentage of
because
the
of the.
time this is happening now?
I I don't know. Um, Honestly, it'd probably be like pretty easy to like track, but I'm not sure. Anecdotally, it feels like 1 out of 4 games you're like not able to like go 6 on 3-2 without an econ augment, but I'm
Mhm.
not really sure.
Okay, so not sword overflow, probably not anger issues. It's like reserved for Zeri. Uh,
Mm.
if I do go
Yeah,
quality over quantity, I feel like that's probably not good for Academy, or is it?
yeah. I think all these are pretty bad, but if you do go quality over quantity, maybe I would try to play maybe try to play into a different line, but I don't feel like your items are very good for it. Like Gunblade really wants to be paired with other items to scale.
Mhm.
Um, Stoneplate is not going to be that great because like the best lines for it just don't really use Stoneplate that well.
The best
Um,
line for quality over quantity is probably emissary, like Ambessa Quirky.
yeah, because all the units are useful. I think like Enforcer is like okay. Um, yeah, because like in Academy, you have a lot of units that don't really benefit from being itemized, like Irelia, Rel, Leona. Like none of these units, and also like you get Academy items, right? So
Mhm.
you're not going to be able to get as much value from the Radiance because you'll have too many items. But I think the other two are like too bad, so I would probably just roll left and right, left and middle. I think that left one is okay. It solves your anti-heal problem. Oh, this middle one I think is better. It solves your shred problem.
Yeah,
It also, because you have Guardbreaker already, there's a little more
mhm,
synergy there.
mhm. And with Academy, you have both
I think
AD and
either left or
AP.
middle. Sorry, go ahead.
With Academy, you have both like hybrid damage sources, so it's particularly good.
Yeah, I think left and middle are both good. I know Spark is your third Academy item, but like a lot of times you're not playing five.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's completely fine. Like you have no anti-heal components, and you also don't have a mana item, which is pretty important for Heimer.
Would you have not leveled there per what we discussed before, of like being especially poor?
I'm not sure. I think it's really close. Can you make 30? Swain, Vlad. Yeah, I would just make 30 here, hold Leona. I think it's okay if you can make 30. If you
Uh,
can't make 30, I probably wouldn't level. Because if you can't make 30, if you assume like you buy a unit in your next shop, which is like fairly reasonable, a lot of times it'll cost you like well let's just say you buy nothing. Like best case scenario. It costs you 3 gold, and then 2 gold and then 1 gold. So you're kind of buying like you can kind of think of it as buying a 6 gold combat charm on stage 3, for multiple rounds, of course. For 2 rounds, because you'll be level 6 on 3-5 anyway.
mhm.
So you can kind of think of it as buying a 3 gold combat charm on this round and a 3 gold combat charm next round, which is just like not really worth it
I see.
on like a one streak. I mean, you wouldn't even really do that in the charm set if you're like full streaking. It's just too expensive.
Okay.
Because like best case scenario, you're losing 6 gold if you buy 0 units, but there's actually a pretty high chance you buy units and then you lose more than that.
And I should have probably put the set in over the what is it? The Sentinel.
I think your board looks fine. I would just sell and make 30 here.
Okay, it's not worth holding like the Rebel units for next in.
Because your next sin's on 4-1.
Oh, I was gonna say Rebel over the Singed.
No, I think Cinch 2 is better.
Okay.
Because Rebel is mostly an offensive trait. It does give your Irelia like 1 belt worth of HP, but it's not that relevant.
Mhm.
So it makes like your Ezreal stronger, and obviously like it doesn't really affect that either.
Okay.
It gives your Irelia 12% HP, which is I think about as much as one Giant's belt. Let me just double check. Yeah, so somewhere around there.
Oh, okay.
So that's a lot. That's a lot. Like an Irelia with 1 belt, Irelia 2 with 1 belt plus a set with no Sentinel, compared to a Singe 2 with Sentinel and an Irelia without a belt, is like the Singe is way tankier.
Mhm. Would you have spread the items differently across Swain and Corki? I feel like eventually I want the Gunblade on the Heimer, and then splitting it this way, like it's kind of awkward because then you have Burn Remover,
Oh,
and I
I think
forgot to
this
use the
is
Radiant.
probably fine, honestly. I think, yeah, I think this is probably fine.
Okay, and then if
Especially like you said, because you have no removers, like valuing not having to like remove one of these units is like pretty important.
Mhm. What would you use the radiant on?
Yeah,
Spark,
this is a pretty interesting
Starbreaker.
choice. Sure, honestly, this is a pretty interesting choice. I think Spark is definitely not a bad option. Uh, Spark makes a lot of sense to me, but I'm not sure. I might look at like some Radiant item data, but it's not going to be that impactful either, or it's not going to be like that telling, I should say. But I think Spark should be fine.
In these cases, I was also just like, is one heuristic to literally just look at the stats and see what, out of my items which one's the best performing radiant and just pick that one.
Yeah, I like to look through several patches because Radiant items have such a small sample size
Oh
that
yeah.
like patch to patch variance is like actually very high just because the sample size is so small.
Hmm.
But it does seem Spark is like Spark is like solid. I think it got nerfed at some point. It used to be. I remember it used to be like top tier, but I think it got nerfed at some point. I think Spark is definitely still solid. It has a lot of the properties of Declaw that I mentioned earlier, where it gives your unit um, a lot of max HP through the healing. So it has really good synergy with Sentinels.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, it
Also,
heals. I think it heals. Yeah, a little bit more than Declaw, and it gives you like flat HP. I think. Let me just double check that.
200 HP.
Oh yeah, they definitely nerfed this. Okay, it used to give you 400.
Oh.
That being said, I think it's still like pretty solid. I mean, it used to be like the best Radiant in the game, so it's still like pretty good.
Hmm. Okay. And if
But
I had
I'm not.
spammed a Sunfire earlier, it would have been way better.
Yeah, Radiant Starfire is really good because it burns within 3 hexes and it's 2% burn. These are both like very powerful effects.
Hmm. Okay. The Radiant Nasher stats look pretty good too. It has
Um,
like a higher win rate than Spark, at least on this patch, but I guess sample size pretty small.
yeah, I would just look at AVP instead of win rate
Okay. It's like roughly the same 4.28 versus 4.3.
because it's kind of like what I was saying earlier. Like why would win rate be better than AVP? Um, it's not. Well, it's not really. But
Sample size and win rate
the thing is,
slower.
win rate has like way more variance
Mm-hmm.
because if someone's score line is like 2-2-2-2 compared to someone else going like 1-5-6-7-5, right? Like that can still be present in like larger sample sizes.
Right.
Once you get like like a million games of someone having covalent spark, then it doesn't matter. But even for, I mean, I can see how many. There's 23 games, 23,000 games with it right now. Uh, the first place race can still be like a little bit more skewed. I guess like there's not really any benefit to using win rate over average placement that I can think of
Okay.
for something like this. I think there's situations where you can look at it, and especially for things that like are like kind of first or eighth, like last set like fortune favors the bold augment.
Mm-hmm.
I think like for certain reroll comps, it's like kind of interesting to look at.
Okay. So even AVP, I think they were like about the same. How would you tiebreak between? I guess the main thing was to your point around Sentinels, like the healing and HP. Plus, I have like
Yeah,
a
I think
lot
the
more
main thing.
damage items than tank items right now. So take this Radiant
Yeah, I
Spark.
think that's the main tiebreaker for me is like right now, do you want to make your front line or back line stronger, and making your front line stronger makes your board
Mm-hmm.
stronger.
Okay.
Spark basically is a tank item. It gives you more defensive stats than like a regular Warmogs in a lot of cases.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at this point, I don't think I would flex Black Rose. You can flex Black Rose Heimer, but I think it's kind of hard. I mean, you would want this new in your shop if you did, but I think with blue, you're like committed to Heimer for sure.
Yeah.
And then yeah,
So
I think
Sentinel or Piercing Lotus? Probably Piercing Lotus. Or I guess I have Spark.
yeah, I think Sentinel and Lotus are both good. You do have Spark, but Lotus makes Guardbreaker better, and you do want Armor Shred as well. I think either one is good. I would probably lean towards taking. Hmm. I'd probably just lean towards taking Lotus. I don't know. I actually think Sentinel, but I'm not sure. I think Sentinel because also like the best component you can make with Cloak is Even Shroud as well. So then you would just have Double Shred, and then
Oh,
Lotus is like not as valuable.
yeah. I guess another reason is that to the point that we just discussed around my backline having a lot of items and my front line's a little weaker. So Piercing Lotus just like gives me more damage, but what I need is more frontline.
Yeah, I think at this point, that point is not as relevant because you're about to roll down. You have like a pretty high gold roll down, so
Mhm.
it's very, very possible that your front line could like pretty much the only thing you have backline, like this Swain 2, is likely getting sold, so your only backline is like one copy of Corki. So it's nearly a coin flip. What's going to be stronger? I guess you have more items than backline. That's true, but it's kind of going to be like a coin flip. Like what's going to be stronger on your front line or backline next round?
Okay. So
Maybe like
then
60-40 in favor of backline.
right. How are you tie breaking this? How did you come to the conclusion
I,
that Sentinel's slightly better?
I just think it's because you have this cloak, and like the best thing
Oh,
you can
right.
make with
Okay.
cloak is even shroud. You can make hurricane. Hurricane is not as good. It's really good on Ezreal. It's like fine on Corki. It's not that good on Jace. But I think like from your spot, you're like kind of high rolling, so you're thinking more about Jace and Corki than Ezreal.
Mhm. Okay. And I have a lot of
But
backline items, and I think the next Academy item is I want to say it's an AD item.
Deathblade,
Yeah.
yes, Deathblade.
So then saving the cloak for frontline item rather than the Runons makes.
Yeah, that's true because your next academy will give you double 3 on carry already.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not like super confident in this, but I would probably lean towards Sentinel.
I don't remember what I took.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty close decision.
You duplicate the Corki here.
I
You.
wouldn't because you still have a lot of gold to roll. I think you're playing your roll down like too flexibly. I would just sell this Swain and this GP. That's an extra 15 gold. Or sorry,
Mhm.
that's not 15. It's 8 plus 3. So it's 11. It's 11 rolls. I would sell at least. Sorry, 11 gold. Sell at least. That's 15 gold total. So you would be at 19. So you could actually roll like 8 more times, maybe even like 10 more times if you hit like a rumble, then you can throw off like Loris, for example.
Okay.
But I would want to roll like at least like 6 more times before you use your dupe, because you could just find a Corki in your next 6 shops.
Okay. So then I think part of it is I have low APM, but I think I do need to get in the habit more of like just open selling. Um, I guess part of my thought process is like at least if I have this swing too, I can kill some units. But if I open sell and I hit nothing, or then I don't kill units, like is that not trade off not worth it?
I think if you had like a really strong option, but I think like it's very unlikely that your board is going to be like that much weaker. Like it is definitely possible that if you open sell, your board is going to be weaker on 4-2, but I think it's not that likely, I guess.
Who would be the backup to hold blue buff Guardbreaker if I open sell and I don't hit timer?
Yeah, I mean, like you have Lux pair, you have Ezreal pair. There's a lot of other units that you could just hit. Um, like you can hit 5 costs. You could just put it on. Like you could just put it on like Lux worst case scenario. Obviously, like we said, that is weaker,
Mhm.
of course, than Swain 2. But I think it's it's kind of something I say a lot. Like the way you're playing it right now, you're a lot more likely to be stronger for 4-2, but you're a lot more likely to be weaker already by the time it rolls like 4-5 by using the stoop now and not rolling more.
Okay. And does the fact
I
that
mean,
I'm
by
on a
5-1,
Mhm.
I was gonna say like by 5-1, you're extremely likely to be a lot weaker by using the stoop now.
Okay.
Um,
Does the fact that I'm on a six
one,
streak change that analysis at all? Like, if you were to, and I guess I did not actually scout here, which I probably should have, but if I did scout and I felt like the Corki 2 would be fight diff, would that change your analysis?
I mean, I still think you should use your rolls more because, like I said, it'll make you stronger right now, but you'll be weaker for literally the rest of the entire game.
Mhm.
Um, I think one thing that so I've been playing like Street Fighter for Stage Jam Slam, and it's also like in Valorant. A lot of people think that the best players just like they're just really good at aiming, like their brains just work fast. But a lot of it, when you say like it's an APM diff, a lot of it is not actually that you're rolling too slow. Like your roll speed is fine. It's you're not like setting yourself up to roll fast enough because you're holding like this Vladimir pair, this Elise. Like if you're not holding all these units, I'm confident with the roll speed that I just observed that you would be able to finish your turn.
Because I'm
But
also like have 4 seconds left here, right? Let's see, when did I stop roll? Or you're
well,
saying
that's what I'm saying
because I'm
because you
holding
have the
unnecessary
Swain, the
units.
Zoe. Like I wouldn't even buy this game plank. This or I would like this game plank. You never need this game plank ever,
Uh,
right? Like it gives your Corki scrap right now, but you can find any scrap unit if you need to at the end of your roll down. But like this
okay.
Vladimir pair, this Zoe, this Swain, this Gameplank, this Elise, all these things are slowing you down. Like if you don't have all these things, you could finish your roll down.
Okay. I guess related to that, I think part of it is I also picked the augment maybe a little bit too slow. How much time do you usually leave yourself on your 4-2 roll down to like position and itemize your units?
Oh yeah, that's a really good point as well. I think depending on how contested you are, if you're not contested at all, I think you should give yourself 30 seconds at least, which is like one regular turn because it's like it's a more important turn. This would be equivalent to leveling with this. If you give yourself 30 seconds, it's equivalent to having the exact same amount of gold on 4-1, basically, which I think like with the amount of gold you have is reasonable to do. Um, on 4-2, however, if you are contested, I think it's very important to pick your augment in the first 5 seconds tops. And it's okay if you go back and you're like, oh, I didn't make the best decision. Because you are going to make the best decision the vast majority of the time by a lot. It's very like it'll happen where we won't pick the best augment, but overall, it's more beneficial to just like start rolling right away because exactly like this, right? Like hypothetically, um, a gold augment that gives you a golden duplicator that like in addition there isn't one in the game, but hypothetically if there was, the duplicator would probably be more than half of the value of a gold augment. So it's like you're actually losing a lot by using this duplicator here.
Mhm.
Whereas like you could have maybe like found a Corki potentially. I mean, I don't know if you would have, right? But maybe
Mhm.
you also would have found like a Lowy, and that's like a better unit to dupe.
Okay. So if I assumed I was like let me see. I took 8 seconds just to roll the middle, and then then I'm like, oh, which one should I take, Sentinel or Lotus? So here you just, if I'm
Yeah,
not sure,
yeah.
just pick one.
Yes, and it's okay because what I also mentioned is like first of all, most of the time you're just gonna intuitively pick the best one.
Uh,
Second of all, when you do pick the worst one, chances are it's because it's a really close decision. So it doesn't even matter that much that you didn't pick the best one. Like it's very rare that there's gonna be like a really good one and a really bad one, and you're just gonna pick the bad one because you only thought about it for 5 seconds. It's more likely that there's gonna be like two decent ones that are like pretty close, and you might not pick the best one.
Yeah. So okay, then I would have had more time to roll if I had just picked augments faster.
Yeah. I mean, I think the main problem is your bench
Uh,
is like too flexible.
yeah.
'Cause if you just like watch how much time you're losing by like thinking about like Vladimir and like Zoe and all these things, it's a lot. Oh, you also mentioned like if you open sell the Swain 2, you might be weaker, but like the same thing applies where it's like you might be weaker because you didn't sell the Swain 2 and you didn't finish your roll down.
Yeah, that's true. That was fight dip here, but if yeah, I guess the if I had hit Heimer, I would have been stronger.
I think it's like pretty likely if you rolled an extra like 8 times on level 8 that you could be stronger if you open sold.
Mm.
I think Force Sentinel is probably better than this gameplay with 2 trades.
Oh, and even though like I'm scrapping a tier off Corky.
Uh, yeah, I guess scrap chair is fine. I was thinking if you could put a full item, but like we said, you're kind of on a remover shortage. What was the other component? I don't think I would have taken chain here because you kind of already have your full frontline build.
Yeah,
Like I would rather just go tier
top
for
tier.
adaptive.
Okay.
Yeah. Like if you want to use it, you can just use it as a frontline item and then move it to backline later. But you already have steadfast and stoneplate and an extra cloak. And worst case scenario, you can just put spark on the same unit. But ideally, you have like one more frontline item so you can move spark to somewhere else. But I mean, you already have cloak, right? So that's very likely going to be your other frontline item.
I just wasn't sure who would hold. Would you put both blue buff and adaptive on Heimer? Like, like it's mainly good
I mean,
on APD units, right?
you could just use it as a frontline item. Like I would probably just honestly just not make it, and then you can just hold it 2 tiers because like you're not making an item anyway with this setup.
Mm,
But I would rather have an extra tier. It makes more backline possibilities
okay.
than
Also,
chain vest, which doesn't make any backline items at all.
yeah. Now that we also know that I've basically full streak stage 4, does that change the duplicator analysis on Corky? Given that I didn't open, so I think I acknowledge that first off that I probably should have just open sold the Swain and GP, and I gotta get better at that. Because we were saying that the duplicator, like if I had a bunch of 4 cost pairs, like usually the last 4 cost unit, and I guess part of it depends on how contested it is, but the last to hit the last 4 cost unit you want could be anywhere between like 25 to like 40 gold in value, right? Um,
Yeah,
but does the fact that I preserve HP and got what is that like 4 gold per turn for 3 rounds so far like change whether you would have duplicated or not? And I know a lot of this is hindsight bias.
yeah. So there's a couple things here, right? Like let's say so again, I think like you should roll more if you can, but let's say like you don't have the option. Like you ran out of time, right? So let's say like you don't have the option to like sell Swain and roll more. Um, I still don't think I would do. I think it's a. I'm not sure. I think it's like really close, honestly. Because like you said, it ended up being the fight difference in 4-2, but like, how often is Corki 2 going to be the fight difference there? Realistically, I mean, it's a pretty big upgrade, but you already have a 3 item backline carry, and your board is also not like crazy strong. So it's like pretty likely you I don't know. Like I think it'll probably be the fight difference there, maybe I mean like probably like less than half the time I'm thinking. Uh and it's just the fact that like your board's definitely not it's not bad for sure. But even if you win 4-2, if you lose 4-3, then it's like, okay, well, you got an extra 3 gold, I guess. Like 4 gold from, or 4 gold, sorry. Yeah, one for winning and then 3 for streak. No, but you would get one streak for losing next round. So you would get an extra 3 gold if you like won but then lost 4-3. But Golden Nico, I think in this spot is worth, I think it's worth a lot. And it's not just the 4 cost. You're also in a really good spot to potentially go like J2 or Rumble 2, maybe. Like it probably not, but it's like it is a possibility.
Okay. Especially since I'm so healthy. Like, if I was far less healthy, then the duplicator makes more sense as well.
Yeah. It's like basically in this situation, like you mentioned in hindsight, it worked out really, really, really well because you end up winning all these rounds.
Yeah.
But even like, yeah, if it makes you win 4-2, but then you lose 4-3, it actually only gave you 3 extra gold, as well as HP, obviously. But
Right.
um,
Okay. I need to think about the duplicator more as far as its like equivalent gold value. I think I'm actively thinking about that.
yeah, golden duplicator is worth. It's really hard to say because a lot of times, like when you're buying things, it's like you can't pay that much for it. We saw this with like charms, I guess.
Mhm.
Uh, but this, like from your spot, it's different because you're more poor earlier. But it's like from your spot right now, it's like if you could have a golden duplicator or like 20 gold, I think that's like a pretty close decision, right? So it's like it's pretty valuable.
Mhm. Okay. And then as far as anomaly here, I would ideally have liked to put it on a Heimer,
Quirky.
but yeah,
Oh,
now
okay.
it's basically Corky
I think
or
Alawi is
Alawi.
fine as well. Yeah, I think those are completely fine options.
I want to say Alawi was pretty contested. If so,
Okay, I mean that makes duplicator even more valuable as well.
yeah.
Because actually, when Quirky, I was specifically thinking like if you had a Alawi pair, I would very heavily consider duping Alawi because it's just
Mm,
more important unit. Because it's like the only frontliner you can have in this comp, whereas your backliner you have Corki, Chase One is fine, you have Heimer.
right. Okay. Like this would have been really good on Corky, right? Especially since I have the Radiant Masher.
On Heimer, yeah, I think if you had a Heimer, I think I would just take this. Yeah,
Okay. Is this good on Corky at all? Like it's really
I
good
don't
on
know.
Twitch, right?
It's good on Twitch and Coglaw, and I don't really think it's like that good on anything else. I actually think it's not as bad as people think. I've been forced to take this, but it's not really good on any other units. It's probably good on Zeri.
Right.
Oh,
Mm,
I think this is good.
you would put it on
Uh,
like Leona
I would probably just put it. I think I would do.
or
You could do
Aurelia.
a Sentinel. You kind of want to put it on an itemized unit. So you could either do a Sentinel or you could do Corki.
Oh,
Like Corki himself won't get the benefit, but he does get some increased armor MR from the Sentinels, and he has items, which is like the most important thing, and that will get shared. Although I guess the items you have don't actually give him very much. I'm not sure. I would definitely want to put it on a unit that's eventually going to hold items. I think
I
that
see.
could be Leona
Hmm.
because you do have like have 3 frontline items and you have chain cloak, so it could be Leona, and then like you'll have your main items on Alawi, and then your leftovers on Leona.
Do you know if it scales like let's say Leona has a stone plate? Does does it get
I would assume not because it says combat start.
okay?
There's some other of these that do scale, but I think combat start it wouldn't because it kind of implies it's like a one time. It just happens and then it's done.
Hmm. Okay, so you
But yeah,
would
the wording of these are generally very inconsistent in
yeah
TFT.
you would prioritize Corky by default. What was what you were saying?
I'm not sure. I know I would for sure take this. Um, I think putting it on Corky is fine. Like he's not gonna get the benefit, but you can give it to like a lot of other units.
I think in my head it's like going back to the item thing. We have my my front line's a lot weaker than my back line, so then maybe I would think frontline unit would be like a sentinel would be better.
Yeah, so the thing is, like, from this spot, you're likely playing four Sentinels.
Mm,
The Sentinels, um, so
diminishing
four Sentinels,
returns.
25.
Yeah.
Well, it's 25 armor MR, and it's tripled on Sentinel. So the Leona has baseline, she has 50 more than Corky. Let me check what their base armor MR is just real fast, actually, because I think she actually has a decent bit more base. She has 20 more base, so she has 70 more armor MR than Corky.
Mhm.
But she also has like less offensive stats and then like items as well. And she also has, I want to say less health, but I'm not sure about that either.
Would
A little bit less health. Not they're
Aurelia
pretty
make more
close.
sense then, since she has 3 rebel as well?
Three Rebel Aurelia does not have more health than Leona. I'm pretty sure. Let me just double check that. Either way, it's within like a fraction of a
Right.
like three Rebel Aurelia has um she has 70 more HP than Leona, but it's like yeah, it's so close. If Leona has like one Academy item on her, like Spark is an Academy item, very likely to be being held by Leona, then that might just swing it.
Oh,
But
right.
either way, it's like ridiculously close.
Okay. Okay. I'm not even sure that I took this though. So this
Yeah.
this anomaly is just like generically very strong.
Yeah, I didn't I think a lot of people didn't realize this is really strong, but if you think about like an anomaly that just gives you like 15% total AD on like Corky, or like 15, or sorry, not 15, like 30%. Like that's pretty reasonable. Um, or like so if you just put this on hypothetically, like let's just say you put this on like Ezreal 2, that's
Mhm.
almost that's almost like worth it for just Corky alone. It's not quite worth it, but obviously you can give it to like 6 units, and yeah. Because if you put it on Ezreal 2 with zero items, Ezreal 2 zero items is 90 AD. So um it'll give Corky about 15% AD, which again, like if you give him 30% as a full anomaly, that's like fairly reasonable. So if you give Corky 15%, it's like it's only half, but again, you're also giving him health, armor, MR, and then you're also giving it to potentially like five, maybe six other units.
Mhm. And usually when you pick this, are you just cornering in the bottom left? Like
You could do bottom
stacking?
right. Like you don't have to full greed it. That's why I said like five or six. You don't have to give it to 6 units every time. I
Okay.
think like honestly, if you're giving it to like two, if you're giving it to 2 units, this is already pretty reasonable. That's why I think this is like a really strong anomaly.
Mm. All right. So you're
Because
like not skipping this like nine. You're picking this like 80% plus of the time.
yeah, I think it's more than 80%.
Really?
Honestly, I think I would only not pick this in. I mean, I think I would honestly pick this in almost any comp that I can think of.
Okay.
The worst comps would probably be like two cost reroll comps, like if you're playing like ranged nocturne or like Urgot 3, where it's like you're really focusing all of your eggs in one basket
Hmm.
and you kind of don't care about the other units as much. But even then, it's not going to be bad because I mean, nocturne you have automata to like really benefit from sharing the armor and MR. Um, but yeah, I think if this could only give it to 2 units, it's like pretty balanced in most situations.
All right. Good. No.
But yeah, I didn't know this for a long time. I actually learned this from someone in TFT Coaching Plus. I forgot who said it, but
Okay. Power absorption. You just take this for Corky. Is it good enough?
yeah. So this is kind of what I was talking about 30 AD. So I think this one's really good. Because I think like 30 AD is reasonable, so this is like a lot better than that.
right.
Yeah, I think this is a insta take. I actually think it's one like besides frontline anomaly, I think it's like very close to one of the best backline anomalies you can be offered here.
I need to like I need to just study
Hypervelocity is
my
terrible. Yeah, all these are bad. Only card is interesting on Leona. I think it's like okay. Yeah, I think it's not as good as some of the other ones, but it's not bad. Yeah, it's not bad. Okay, nice remover. Okay, yeah, good.
what are your thoughts on Guardbreaker versus Gunblade on Corki versus Heimer?
Um, I think this is. I think looks fine because your Corki has two. Well, Heimer's Academy, but you also don't have Academy items. Yeah, Corki has damage amp from Deathblade, Red Buff, and Academy. So some damage amp on Heimer, who doesn't have any at all, I think, uh, is more valuable on Heimer. So I like this.
Okay.
Because
And
basically, Guardbreaker damage amp loses value when you have Deathblade Red Buff and Deathblade Academy giving you damage amp.
oh right. Okay. And then
I think that's like the main factor to me.
what's your thought on the trade-off between rolling down here for well, I guess maybe I don't even need to ask that because I feel like every time I've heard you do coaching session and our last coaching session basically like level 9 odds for 4 costs or better, so I should not be rolling down, right? I should just be going 9.
I think you're from your spot, you have so much health. You should definitely not be rolling here. Again, like if you roll and you keep streak, but then you lose the next round, it actually only nets you 3 gold. So it's like, and you don't really need like 10 HP, right? Like obviously saving 10 HP is gonna be a good thing, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not 3 gold and 10 HP at this point is really irrelevant compared to the possibility of like being level 8 for this entire stage.
Okay. So using that
So I would
duplicator has so far paid off, right?
yeah, yeah, because you wouldn't have had anything to do here. It worked out really well, but I think, like I said, it's very easy. You could just lose 4-3, and then in that
Right.
case, you would have been in this exact same spot, but
Okay.
with way less gold. Because the duplicator here netted you probably like more than 10 gold.
I think it's
But
like 4 rounds of 4 times 4, 16 gold.
yeah, yeah, but I think like your spot is kind of like it's kind of like so good that I mean, we still don't know if it paid off, right? Like, what
Yeah.
if you're at top two and then
I miss everything for
you
the rest
barely
of the
lose.
game.
You have like a Mel pair or something. I don't know. Who
Oh, yeah,
knows?
yeah.
But it definitely worked out really 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 well. But I'm just saying it's yeah, like we said, it's not always going to be go this
Yeah,
well.
it could have easily backfired and I could have ran into a much
Another
stronger high roller.
yeah, I think using the duplicator on 4-2 is good, but I think like using more of your rolls beforehand is like pretty valuable. If we just assume like your next shots for your rolls, like you wouldn't have found any Corkis, so like so maybe like you end up duping Corki anyway, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
yeah, it's just what if there's a Corki in your next? I mean, you just never know.
Right.
And this is probably even shot here because you do
Oh,
have 3 item 80 carry.
even with the piercing lotus, even shroud.
Oh, okay. Actually, I like Hurricane. Sorry, I forgot I had Lotus.
Okay.
Yeah, I like Hurricane better.
And this guy's taking all my units, and he's holding an extra Heimer.
Yeah, I mean,
Hopefully, he just dies. Actually,
yeah.
given that I just lost,
I think I would wait
wait
two
till
here.
5-5.
So basically, yeah. So here you're losing 4 gold of natural XP. Because you're going to right? Because on 5-5 you would be 4 out of whatever. So you're losing 4 gold of natural XP. You're losing at least 4 gold of econ this round. and then at least 3, but probably 4 next round. So it's like 12 gold. You're weaker for 2 rounds, but you're weaker for 2 rounds, but from your spot, you're for sure playing the entirety of stage 6. So you are weaker for 2 rounds, but you're stronger for at least like 7 rounds by waiting. It's just that you can't realistically spike enough because it's too like unrealistic to like roll and meaningfully upgrade your board from your current bench state. I think if you could level here with like 30 gold, you have a fairly reasonable chance of finding like Rumble, Jace, maybe even like a 2 star. Like that's like a different. But I think like leveling here, the most likely spike you can get is like a Nami 1, which is what you end up playing. It's like not terrible, but uh again, this is kind of like buying like a 12 gold combat charm to be stronger for 2 rounds. So like 6 gold per round to rent a Nami 1 on your board is kind of like how I would think about it.
Okay, I think that's a really great way of thinking about it. I got to develop that model. I also
But
am
yeah,
not used to being in this spot where I'm like so healthy and rich at five
yeah, this is
two.
really rare.
In fact, this if this were the same scenario in stage 4, I would be like, oh, I should go fast 9 and wait. But it's stage 5, so I'm like, oh, I should be going 9 because it's stage 5. But I guess I should be applying the same logic.
Yeah, the thing is, like, you're probably playing from your spot. There's another guy with 85. You're probably playing to fight on 7-1. Like, you're planning. That's what I'm thinking. Like, so you're, like, again, you're going to be stronger for 2 rounds, but you're going to be weaker for, like, at least, like, 7 rounds.
Mm.
Um, I think the most important thing is you just can't make your board that much stronger. Uh, I said, like, 12 gold, but realistically, you're actually going to lose more than that because you're also going to lose more gold later this stage. Um, but just in these like 2 rounds alone, it's gonna cost you 12.
Yeah.
Um, I think what you mentioned about your HP, if you had like 22 HP here, I would just level and play the Nami
Mm.
because with 22 HP, you have to win one of these rounds, like no matter what, if you're stacking 2, and I'm just not sure you will. So like every little bit helps, and this is kind of what I was saying. Like the percent chance that Corky 2 makes a difference, maybe like 50%. I don't know exactly, but percent chance in Nami 1 makes a difference, maybe like 10%. But like a 10% chance to like win a single round when you're 2 lives is like really impactful.
Okay. And
But
from
here, like you don't care that much.
right from a
You're
frontline.
paying 12 gold.
Mhm.
The way I look at it is you're paying about 12 gold, probably more, honestly, for like an expected, like maybe like 6 HP saved.
Right. Yeah. And given that I'm so healthy, it's just not worth the trade off.
Yeah.
From a frontline perspective, if I had unlimited removers, how would you itemize? I can never tell who to put the academy emblem on and whether that's worth putting on like your primary tank.
Academy, I think is not going to be as good as Steadfast, Stoneplate, and Val. If you didn't have Val, I would probably do it over Spark. Because
Yeah.
Spark, at the end of the day, is just it is an Academy item, but it is just one belt and one cloak in terms of frontline stats. It's actually less than one belt. Sorry, it's one cloak and like 2/3 of a belt.
Okay.
So, as a frontline item in terms of defensive stats, Spark gives you uh about 25 ish, maybe a little bit less than a real frontline item. 25%, sorry, 25% of a real frontline item. So it's like 1/4. But Academy with 6 Academy will give you. It counts as an Academy item itself, which is 18% HP. So on an Alawi 1 star, because you don't have pair, let's just say 1 star, 18% HP is it's about it's somewhere between 1 and 2 belts. Though again, it's also like not that much. It's like one quarter of a real item. So
Mhm.
I would rather go like Val, Stoneplate, and Steadfast. But it also gives your Steadfast another 18%. So I said it's between 1 and 2 belts. But because you have Steadfast, it's actually double that. So it's like between it's like maybe 3 belts. So it's like the general heuristic I use is a component is 1/6 of a full item. So 3 belts is about half of a full item. So Academy Spat with one other Academy item is like half of a Warmogs, is kind of how I would think about it. Children
Okay.
here is good. I just think Alawi 1. Once you have Alawi 2, it actually the value like nearly doubles. So it's actually not bad. So with one other Academy item, it's like pretty close to a Warmogs. It's still a little bit worse.
Okay.
And one thing I mentioned about like the amount of gold it costs you, and you're stronger for 5-2 and 5-3. But like with that extra gold, like maybe you could roll here because like you wouldn't be so pressured from being low econ,
Mhm.
and then you would be stronger for these rounds instead.
Right.
Yeah, that's good spreading your front line against Urgot.
At this point, it's mainly just looking for timer to Rel
Jace
2,
Rumble.
Jace. And if you find Rumble,
Yep.
are you taking out Aurelia?
I think I would drop Irelia, yeah, because you have a 3 item Heimer, including Radiant item. I don't think I would play this. You could play it over Mel, but hmm, is this good?
I see.
I'm not sure, honestly. This is something I'm not really an expert on, but it's also 15 gold, which is like 7.5 more rolls for like your relevant units. I guess if you play it over Mel, you can subtract like 6, so it's still like 4.5 more rolls.
Uh, and like the Mel shield with the Sentinels is extremely valuable.
Yeah, and yeah, I think Mel's just really good in this comp because of Sentinel. Um, you also have like yeah, I think she's just really good in this comp,
Okay.
and like extra life is like always not bad.
I keep on forgetting about the extra
Yeah,
life.
I wouldn't make like Leona just because like you're very unlikely to hit Leona 3 here. So most likely you're just gonna lose 1 gold.
Oh, okay. Uh, if you keep the Melon, do you move the Shojin onto her from the Ezreal?
Yeah, um I think I would, but you're pretty limited on removers, like we said.
Yeah.
I mean, you would yeah, I would want to like the thing is like this is kind of what I was saying about rolling too wide.
Mhm.
Because you actually have, like, on your bench right now, 2 Corgis, 8, LeBlanc, 2, 15. You have 23 gold on your bench. That's, like, a pretty reasonable amount on level 9 to find, like, Jace or Rumble.
Right. Okay. I do this a lot. Just tunnel more. Okay.
Yeah, I think there's definitely situations where rolling wide is good. In fact, I think, like, the last review I did in here was for, or not the last one, but I did one a few days ago for Saiku, and he was, like, rolling too narrow, whereas, like, not picking up units that would make his board stronger.
All right. So I should just be selling my
But
bench
you
and
just have
trying to
to
find the Heimer, the Rumble, and
there's
Jace.
just a balance, right? Because like from this spot, you're 0 gold. You're not gonna hit
Yeah.
Corki 3.
And this guy
I
has a
mean that's
Corki
this
too.
guy has a Corki. Yeah, yeah. I mean he has a Corki 1, but you're not gonna hit Corki 3. Like uh, so one thing that's really important to think about is from this round onwards, every round you get 5 gold, right?
Mhm.
Like let's say you streak, you get 6. Let's be generous, right? Um, so every round you get 3 rolls. So hypothetically, like let's say LeBlanc 2, 2 Corkis, that's 23 gold, that's 12 rolls. That's 4 rounds in advance. So basically, like whatever your board is on 6-6, like by playing a Mel instead of a LeBlanc 2, that's the board you would have on like 6-2.
I see. So just buying that. Yeah. And then even
Yeah, I
after I
think
found the
LeBlanc.
Jace, I didn't know who to take out. So it definitely didn't make
Yeah,
sense.
exactly. Like I think LeBlanc is like it's probably a little bit stronger, honestly, but it's like it's so marginal that like you'd rather have the gold, I think.
Mhm.
Especially because I mean, yeah, like think about like all the games you play of TFT, like you're board on 6-1 versus 6-6. It's usually a pretty big difference. And you're usually making 5 gold per round this entire stage. Because like you're frequently like rolling 0 here, right? Because like
Yeah.
econ is not that valuable at this point. So basically like an extra 20 gold is having your 6-6 board on 6-1.
I see. And yeah. And that could have easily swung the fight if I had a Heimer 2 and Jace. Whereas
Yeah, yeah.
the LeBlanc 2 makes less of a difference.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and that's the same idea behind my stage 4 roll down. I was just holding too many units, trying to play too wide as well. Okay. I think in the past I would mainly try to not hold so wide just because it would make me dizzy, but I think you're also pointing out that holding wide also prevents me from being able to roll.
Yes, exactly. It slows you down APM wise. This is what I was kind of talking about, like Valorant earlier. Where like a lot of people think the best Valorant players are just they have really fast reflexes and can like click on people's heads really fast. But it's not. It's not that they put themselves in positions. Like they're actually, like they're a little bit faster than your average player, of course. But there's a lot of players in gold who are just as fast as like the pros in terms of like just reflexes. But they put themselves in positions where they're able to execute that. So it's like for in the TFT scenario, it's like by holding those Vladimirs, buying the Zoe, putting it on your board, putting it on your bench, and then like thinking about selling it, like all of this stuff. Like I wouldn't even think about Zoe because you have blue buff. Um, and I would definitely like sell Gangplank. Like there's a chance that like if you're a perfect computer, you will play Gangplank on your board on 4-2. Like there's a chance, but it's just like the chance that the realistic chance that this Gangplank actually makes your board stronger is very very small. And if it does make your board stronger, it's going to be like pretty negligible.
All right. So to summarize my
Even like
takeaways.
Zyra, like,
Mhm.
yeah, like even like this Zyra is like it might not look like much, but every little bit like it slows you down. Like just clean up your bench before your 4-2 roll down. Uh,
Yeah. I guess like a perfect computer could say from this spot that it's possible I could still pivot into 6 Sork, 3 Black Rose if I hit like 2 LeBlancs and duplicate.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
But
But
for a mere mortal like me, I should just tunnel on Academy.
yeah, you know the first time I learned this was back in set 7. This is probably like my prime during TFT when I was like competing full time.
Uh,
Uh, but I VOD reviewed where the world champion, Shunga, who's still consistently been like winning tournaments in China. Um, one thing I think the biggest takeaway that I learned from him is he said like TFT is more similar to a fighting game than a strategy game, which I mean I don't agree with, but just like the sentiment of that is like really interesting because at the end of the day you do only have 30 seconds. Um, so it's like it is like mentally taxing and how much you can think about in a short amount of time frame. Another relevant thing that I like to think about is I used to watch like Magnus Carlsen stream chess, and even in like 15-minute games, which are called rapid in chess, which like sounds like a lot of time, but it's not a lot of time, he would make moves and be like, "Oh, if I were playing like a classical chess game, this move would make me lose the game on the spot, but it's going to put my opponent in a tricky spot and it's going to make my life easy." And I don't
mhm,
think he can like execute with only like 5 minutes left on his clock.
mhm.
So at the end of the day, in TFT, like skipping optimal decisions in favor of like decisions that you can execute as a human is like very valuable.
Okay.
I think it's something like Dish Soap has like really ascended on. Like he just instantly does everything.
Yeah, I've heard him on stream mention on 4-2, like instant picking Ogma, especially when contested to that point exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So to summarize my learnings, the biggest one is stop playing so wide on my roll downs. Just open cells so I can simplify. Don't pick up units that aren't going to go on my final board. I should just tunnel on the comp that I want. Assuming I'm like in this position where I'm healthy and I'm like relatively rich, especially since I have the duplicator. Um, and then same goes for like the end game where I was still holding units. I was making the LeBlanc too. It's just like just stick to what board I want, like in the really end game, instead of holding gold on my bench that could be used for rolling and make my board stronger right now. So that's one.
Yeah.
Another one
I,
is
I
oh
have one
yeah.
more thing on that point. Also,
Mhm.
sorry. It's pretty relevant. Another thing I noticed is you didn't miss any units at all, which like a lot of people think. I mean, on the surface, like that's just a good thing. But in actuality, like you should probably miss some units a little bit. That probably means like you're being too meticulous if you never miss a unit ever.
Oh.
Because you gotta find the balance. Like if you're rolling too fast and missing too many units, I find this is really common in lower elo players where they think they need to roll like 50 gold in one turn uh, to be good at the game, and they miss units. Um, but in higher elo players, I frequently see the opposite, where they never ever ever miss a unit. So that probably means like you could go 10% faster, and you would probably still not miss a unit, most likely. Like you might miss one every few games, right? And then you just gotta find your balance there.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great point. And
You're
related,
also not gonna miss an important unit. Like you're not gonna miss a Heimer and a Lowy, a Jace. Like
right,
if you miss something, it might be like a Rel.
right. Okay. And then the duplicator usage, I really need to be valuing that in terms of its equivalent gold value later, and also thinking about it from a big picture standpoint, like how much of the game percentage wise I've completed, how many rounds I likely will have remaining. So like I should very easily be getting through stage 6 with this much HP. So by using the duplicator, I'm sacrificing a lot of gold in the long run at kind of current immediate power, which I didn't even scout. So like the Corki 2 may or may not have become fight diff. And not only that, it shouldn't just be fight diff right now, but it should be like fight diff for the rest of the stage for it to even make sense. And I probably high rolled as a result of that. But that's I should be more actively considering that. Um,
Yeah, especially since you mentioned Alawi is contested. I think if you have Alawi paired, dipping Alawi is very reasonable because there's no other frontline replacement.
mm,
But you have Radiant Nasher, so in fact, like your Heimer is even more important than your Corki.
right. Okay.
But like, there's no replacement for Alawi, so I would like, especially if she's contested, I think duping Alawi makes a lot more sense. You also have like multiple backline carries.
Good. Any other major takeaways that stood out to you that I didn't cover?
Uh no, I think that's it. I think there's a lot of interesting things to talk about this session, so that's pretty cool.
Right. Nice. Appreciate the time then. Thanks, Asa.
Thanks. See ya.
All right. Talk to you later.